Greetings, life management students. I hope you're well. We are now into module number 12. And this is an interesting week because we're going to talk about something that I think your textbooks, different textbooks and stuff don't really cover. And I think it's so important when we talk about life management is our relationships, right? Relationships in general. So relationships with friends, with family members, with coworkers, and then romantic relationships. All of these, they influence us so greatly. They're such a big part of our life that no one always teaches us like how to have good relationships. So our PowerPoint's going to be a little bit short. I don't have a lot of slides, but we're going to learn a lot about relationships in our activity this week. So your activity that correlates with relationships is a video you're going to watch and you're going to learn. And then we're also going to give you some scenarios about kind of the difference between what we think of as healthy relationships and not so healthy, or what we call toxic relationships. So let's dig into our learning here. Right, so relationships with friends. Right? So friendship is a relationship of mutual affection between people. So in order to have friends, you have to really respect each other. Respect, that mutual affection comes from respect. And you have to care about each other. Some of the characteristics of having, healthy friendships, again, are going to be things like kindness, right? Things like honesty. You don't want to lie to your friends, right? Loyalty. This is important for many of our relationships because loyalty is what helps our friendships last. Forgiveness. I mentioned before that we all make mistakes. We talked a little bit about forgiveness and how unforgiveness really hurts you. Therefore, if we want to have good relationships, we have to learn and understand your friends, partners, family members will make mistakes because we're all human. We are going to make mistakes, they're going to make mistakes, and we should forgive in order to continue on with those relationships. And trust, right? Trust. And sometimes when somebody hurts us and they do something and they come and they ask us for forgiveness, and we can forgive them. However, it may take some time to build the trust back up because they may have broken that trust, right? If you told someone to not share a secret, to keep something private, and they didn't, they broke your trust. And so sometimes they have to earn that back. And I think that's fine. I think it's wise of you to really help your friend understand, yes, I forgive you. I want to be friends, but I was hurt and you broke my trust, and I hope you can earn that back. Right? And so be honest about that and say that exactly what I just said. Okay? So again, in order to keep these good relationships going, we want to make time to connect. So you have to have time for friends. Set and respect boundaries. This is a tough one. And sometimes I see this happen when you have maybe very close friends and then one of them gets a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And then what happens is that friendship changes because now one of the two friends is spending more time with a romantic partner. And the other friend is feeling kind of left out and hurt, right? But understand, you have to set those boundaries and say, you know what, this is my friend time with you, and then I have my time with my partner. And sometimes we can do things together, right? But set boundaries, right? Sometimes people are a little bit too, kind of think of too in your face. And sometimes you have to set boundaries and say, you know what, we hung out yesterday, today I'm going to hang out with someone else, or today I'm going to do something with my family. Like maybe we can't hang out every day. There's boundaries. Communicate mindfully, be open to feedback. So when we have friends, hopefully we will receive constructive criticism from our friends, right? Give them space. Yeah, you got to trust and give your friends space when they need it. Build that trust. And then be a positive force. So you're supposed to be your friend's cheerleader. You encourage, you don't tear them down. I remember my youngest daughter was in middle school, and she would come home and tell me about her friends, and these were her close group of friends, and the things they would say to her would be so negative. They would call her names, they would call her anorexic, they would call her ugly, they would call her all of these things that would break my heart, but I would tell her those are not friends, because friends don't do that. Friends say positive things. right? Now, don't get me wrong. If you have a problem with body odor and you have a close friend, I hope your friend tells you about your body odor because you're not aware of it. Typically, if we have body odor, we can't smell it on ourselves, but other people can smell it, right? A good friend doesn't want you to go around other people are smelling you, right? That's a good friend, right? They're not being mean. They're being honest and direct with you, and you should appreciate that, right? Other people may let you walk around the class or walk around and everybody's trying to get away from you, and that's not a good thing, right? So good friends are honest friends. All right, so relationship with peers. So what are peers? Peers are really your coworkers or your classmates. They're people that are your equals, but you don't yet have maybe relationships with them, right? If you walk into a class like this college class, you know, if you gather together, you may not know other people. So ways that peers can negatively influence our emotional development, definitely bullying. Have you heard the term peer pressure? It's very real. And so the bullying, being excluded from groups, and then learning those deviant behaviors, those negative behaviors. So with our peers, especially coworkers, we have to learn to work with people that sometimes we don't even like or we don't get along with. You can work with them. We can do some avoiding and things like that in a respectful manner so that you can get along with peers. Because again, when I'm a manager, when I was a manager and I hired people, I care very much about if you're a team player. Can you get along with other people? Can you work out differences, right? That's really, really important. So relationships with our peers. So again, when you're trying to develop those relationships with people that you don't know well, find common goals, establish trust and respect, pursue collaboration. So in other words, if you're working with one person on something and you think, hey, why don't we ask Joe over here what he thinks about this, right? You're trying to bring in more people and work together. No blaming. So if your department was low in sales this week, you don't go around blaming your coworkers, and make time, like have potlucks at lunch or do something that can bond you socially and not just through career choices. All right, relationships with our partner. So when I say the word partner, I'm talking about your husband or your wife, your boyfriend, girlfriend, your significant other, whatever you want to call it. But it's the person that you got the hots for. It's the person you like. That's what I mean when I say partner. So let's talk about something that, unfortunately, as I said, a lot of parents and guardians don't really teach their children. What does it look like to be in a healthy relationship? So a healthy relationship involves mutual caring. The word mutual means both people. So it should not be one person really does a lot of it and the other person really doesn't care. Right? Respect is huge. When I talk about healthy relationships, respect tells me how healthy a relationship is, whether you have it or you don't. Compassion, interest in your partner's welfare and growth. So in other words, it's not all about you. You have to compromise. When you love someone, you care about them and you care about the things they like to do, right? An ability to share control and decision-making. So you don't have one person that makes all the decisions and they don't really care what the other partner says. You should be working together, right? A shared desire for both of you to be happy. You should care about that. So a healthy relationship is what I call a safe relationship. It's a relationship where we can be ourselves. You can be who you are without fear. A place where we feel comfortable and secure. That's what it means to be safe. So if you have a relationship that is somewhat abusive, or you have a partner who maybe doesn't hit you physically, but they always berate you. So they say things to you, you're good for nothing, right? You can do nothing. You can never do anything. Can you not cook? When they say ugly things to you, that's not respect. It's not mutual. That is not a healthy relationship. It's not a safe relationship because you end up walking on eggshells because you don't want to say the wrong thing to set your partner off, and that's not safe. So that's not where we want to go. We want a relationship where you feel good, you feel like your partner really knows who you are, and you feel comfortable sharing that. So while healthy relationships really help us to establish a sense of self-esteem, when I'm in a healthy relationship, my partner lets me be who I am, and they encourage me to be better than I am actually, right? And so I have good self-esteem. I have this kind of emotional energy. However, in a toxic relationship, I have low self-esteem, and it drains my energy because I'm always worried about the other person reacting somehow, right? A toxic relationship is not a safe place. A toxic relationship is characterized by insecurity, self-centeredness. Your partner is self-centered. They dominate, they control, they want to control you. They like that feeling. And that is not a mutual, respectful relationship. We risk everything staying there. We risk physically staying in that relationship. We risk, excuse me, our own sense of self dying slowly because we're in a toxic relationship. So it's not something that, I frequently have students pose questions to me about. This is how their partner treats them. What should they do? And, I'm always going to say, I know it's hard because you believe they've helped you, or they've caused you to believe that you can't do any better. They'll tell you that you won't get any better than me. And you start to believe it, but it's not true. It is not true. And you know what? I also believe that I would rather be happy and healthy on my own than in a relationship with those things. I come from a abusive relationship. I am a survivor of domestic violence myself. And as that survivor, I am proud of that. I'm proud of getting out. And I did not have a desire to go into another relationship because I was happy, and I am happy being the mom that I am and having my students, and the responsibilities that I have, they fulfill me. They do, because I don't want to be in a relationship that doesn't value me as an equal. And I want you to know that too. You can be happy with just you, but more so, you can also be happy finding a better person that's healthy. You deserve that. You really, really do. So consider little things like, how does your partner handle mess ups, screw ups? If you drop a plate when you're washing dishes, does your partner fly off the handle because they paid for that plate and you broke a plate? Do they make a big deal out of breaking a plate, right? An accident, right? What do you emphasize about your partner? Is your partner always saying positive things about you or negative things? How often do you do the silent treatment? This is a big one, right? The silent treatment is when we say everything's fine, but it's really not. Because we won't talk to you for 3 days because we're still mad about something you did 3 days ago. So we give you the silent treatment. And you kind of are like, well, I asked you, is everything okay? Or, and you said yes, but I don't know why you're so mad. We shouldn't have to figure that out. In a healthy relationship, you can talk to your partner openly without doing the silent treatment. So silent treatment is not a good thing. Whether you're both truly dependable. So is one of you more dependable than the other? How many little fights turn into big blowups? Should they? Do they need to? They probably shouldn't, right? Whether you can handle being on your own. Some people can't. And that's not healthy, because the healthiest relationship is when the two of you have good self-esteem. You both know who you are, and then you come into a relationship and you're equals. If one of you is so dependent on the other person, then you really don't like being on your own. And that's not really healthy. How comfortable you feel being open. So are you able to honestly share with your partner, or are you afraid if they found out certain things about you, they'd leave? You should not live in that fear. So that's kind of this healthy versus toxic reality, to be thinking about those two different things. So here's a big question I get asked a lot. Can toxic become healthy? So let's say you're in a relationship in which you feel like you're completely in love with your partner. Yet you can see, since what we've talked about recently, you can see it's not healthy. Can that relationship change and become healthy? So what happens here is, being in an unhealthy, toxic relationship, you've both learned how to manage that relationship in a negative way. One of you has learned how to dominate. The other has learned how to walk on eggshells and be submissive. And it's really hard to unlearn that. It really, really is. Instead, one of these partners engaging in behaviors that make this relationship unhealthy, it takes all of the effort, all of your attention. It becomes a huge chore to be in that relationship, and it's really, really hard. It's hard to admit to yourself that maybe you made a wrong choice. Maybe your mother and friends and everyone said, don't be with him or her. They're not good for you, and you just did it anyway because you were in love. And love makes us do crazy things sometimes, right? And now you're sitting here thinking, well, is there any way we can become healthy? It's very difficult, because what happens is the person that usually dominates needs to have their whole way of thinking changed. And that really only happens through therapy. It really only happens with a counselor who is going to be able to show them what they're doing wrong, because in their mind, they're not doing anything wrong. In their mind, the fact that I blow off the handle when you drop things, or the fact that I call you fat, or the fact that I berate you and say negative things, you know I love you, right? Those things aren't wrong, and yet they are wrong. So we have to change the way that you both think, and that's really hard to do. It is really, really hard. So it's difficult. I can't say it's impossible. I will say it takes a tremendous amount of effort and therapy from a professional to help people that have toxic relationships or unhealthy ways of thinking, to help them change that into healthy, right? Yet it's so important that you do, right? So I would probably say most of the times, if you really want to be healthy, you need to walk away. You need to walk away from that relationship. Now, I actually know one couple. They were married. They went through this kind of toxicity in their relationship. They got divorced, and literally like 12 years went by. They were living in opposite states, one in Tennessee and one here in California. And the ex-husband was the one that was very toxic and unhealthy, more so than the wife. And what happened was he called her and he apologized, and he had been through therapy, and he had learned some lessons in these 12 years. And they actually ended up remarrying. They're still married today, right? The reason, though, I think it works for them is because this individual had, on his own, without the other person, made the decision to become healthy, made the decision. He had come to a very low place in his life where his job, everything was not working because of his toxicity. And so he went and got help, and he became his own person on his own. And then he became a good partner, right? So that is a way you can become healthy. But I hope that you will all make good choices in your relationships to think of, again, who makes you feel good about yourself, right? That's what's really important. So again, you will continue your learning about relationships through our activity for this week. Watch the video, read all the information that's listed there. There's a lot of information. And there's a couple different scenarios to answer at the end of that activity, right? All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this week's learning.